Morning Stampers, I'm Meg from LovenStamps, and this is another Maker Mornings with Meg Friday edition. Woohoo, Friday! So I know you guys are excited. The other day I showed a project with the Nature's Harvest stamp set and coordinating dies. It was this really fun folding album, so if you missed this one, you are clearly going to want to go back and see it so that you can get all the information on that. Anyway, this is one of my projects for the month of September with the LovenStamps Monthly Tutorials. You can learn more about that on my blog or in the video description. And so I'm going to show you another autumn harvest project today. Hey, Tanya and Kathy. Today's project is a lot simpler. We'll take a deep breath and have sort of a, peaceful Friday here without a ton of supplies necessarily. But one of the things I love about this suite is that there are a lot of pieces that mix and match. So whether you make a really involved project or whether you make something that's kind of a clean and simple card like today's with the Stampin Blends, you have lots of choices on what you want to do when you sit down to work with a stamp set. So, hey Cindy, Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to flip my camera down and let's get started. If you're ever looking for supply lists, you can always find those in the video description. So, hey Margie, if you're watching on Facebook, you can click for the video description usually. And if you're watching on YouTube, there's a little caret, like little thing at the right under the title, usually to the side, that you can click to find the video description. So, all right, so we're using a very vanilla card base. When you cut cardstock this direction, you always want to score it in the middle, either with your trimmer or simply scoreboard, because otherwise you're gonna get a crack right there. So when you fold your cards this way, you need to score, okay? And then I have this piece here, which is cut down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And the cutting sizes, you can just listen and write them down. Or if you want the PDF version, that is free with any order in my online store during the month of September this year. So we're gonna layer this on here, and I'm gonna kind of keep this clean and simple so you can see kind of the pieces that I plan to use. The other great thing about this project is it is a way to stretch your Cork Specialty Paper. So you will feel like it's a never-ending Stregonona's pasta pot worth of paper, because these little strips are a great way to use it and not have a zillion. Let's see, Tanya says she has to get very vanilla and she doesn't have this or envelopes. Yes, yeah, there are some things that just scream very vanilla for their neutral, and some things that really call for whisper white. So I like really having both on hand. And I don't know if you caught this, but I'm using the thick cardstock here for the base because I like the thick cardstock when I'm doing card bases from the neutral. So, hey Kay. Okay, so let's bring in some stamps here. I have my Early Espresso Stampin' Pad, and I'm going to go ahead and use this big stamp here. Now, there is a die that matches this from the Harvest dies, is that what they're called? Yep, Harvest dies, that you get discounted and bundled together. But we're not gonna use the die today. We're gonna go with a no die cutting card. I know, you're like flabbergasted. But sometimes, you're just wanting to go ahead and do something a little bit different. So, okay, let's talk about coloring here. So I am going to move you closer. Let's see, is that pretty good? So that we can get some detail here on Stampin' Blends. So for my Stampin' Blends, I have the colors, there we go. The colors Daffodil Delight, Cajun Craze, and Soft Succulent. And let's see, can I get us straighter? There we go. So when I color with Stampin' Blends, you may have heard this lesson before, but always good to remember. I like to use the duo markers, so there's a lighter and a darker. And my first step is always to lay down a foundation of the lighter color. And what this does is it actually helps to start saturating the paper, which means that you're gonna end up with a cleaner blend as you go back and add your Stampin' Blends colors. And I generally use the brush tip, although the other project that I want to share with you guys with this suite for the tutorials, I'm going to use the bullet tip of my markers, which I know you're probably flabbergasted because I never do, but I'm going to go ahead and use brush tip for this one. So there's our first light color. And again, this is Cajun Craze if you missed that. And then I'm going to go back and use my dark marker along the places where there is shadow. So where that little center of the flower comes in, then maybe like behind this petal. So this petal's in front, this one's in back, which means I'm going to kind of catch the edges of those petals in the back, behind, and then maybe a little bit of like the color here lines. And so the color here lines are the ones that Stampin' Up's fabulous artists put on the image. They're those little, dark lines there. And they basically say, hey, here's a shadow. So go ahead and add some darker color to it. And now I'm gonna go back with my lighter. So this is step 3. And I'm just gonna blend. I'm just gonna color right at the intersection between my lighter and my darker to add, sort of to soften that intersection there, okay? So you can see it again. Step 1, use the lighter to lay down a color foundation. And generally, when I'm working with plants, I learned this a zillion years ago. I don't remember where, maybe a Stampin' Up demonstrator convention, probably. Lots of good tips there. Speaking of which, registration for Onstage at Home is open. So if you're a demonstrator, I hope you're registered because it's going to be amazing. It's in November and it's a virtual event and lots of great things to learn. If you're not a demonstrator, there's a really amazing special going on this month and you would love to sign up, I'm sure. So you can learn more about that on my website at LovenStamps.com. Okay, so step 1 was lay down the color foundation. Step 2 is add some highlighting here in the color here line locations, okay? And let's see, at the base of the leaves is a good place where this leaf curls over. There's gonna be a shadow, maybe where it overlaps here. And then step 3, hey Deb, go ahead and color at the intersection. And honestly, for these leaves, it's a little bit less important. Okay, and then last thing to cap this off and really make these flowers pop, we're going to add some yellow here, and I'm using Daffodil Delight. And the colors for this they come from the Designer Series paper. Here's some pieces of it there from our last project. So they're inspired by the Designer Series paper, which is a great place to start when you're not sure about picking colors to go with something. Just even if you don't have the paper, open the catalog, look at the paper and the colors included, and know that those are great choices together. So, or Stampin' Up wouldn't have put them in paper. All right, so now we're gonna add some greetings here. I'm gonna use the thank you greetings. This is gonna be a thank you card. And I'm gonna bring in some strips of paper, and I'll show you kind of how I thought about this. I was like, oh, should they go all the way across? Should they go partially across? Should they cover the flowers? And then I was like, oh, I really like it this way here, where we're kind of covering up a little bit of the flowers, so it's helping those kind of be in the background, but we're not totally covering up the stem, this like continuity that goes to the bottom of the card, okay? So I'm gonna use my thank you, and I'm gonna stamp right on my DSP. These are from the package, and let's see, can I get it pretty straight? Yep, right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and layer these, but I really want there to be a little bit more connection between our background and our front. I want a little bit more around here. So I'm gonna grab this splotch stamp, which is one of the images here in there. It's kind of like a leaf texture almost. But I'm gonna go ahead and add this, and I'm gonna stamp it in the background here behind. So maybe one here and one over here to sort of connect these layers together a little bit. But I don't really want it to be quite so dark. So I'm going to stamp off like twice and then pop that on there. Okay, did I get that in about the right place? Yep, okay. And then stamp off twice, and I'll pop one down here. So now when I put my layers back on, it just sort of has a little bit more connection to the background there, okay? Now, I'm gonna flip these over. I kind of have them lined up where I want them, I think. And I'm just gonna pop a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals. Okay, that just totally moved. There we go. Right on the intersection. So you could glue these or you could just stick them together like that. And then pop them on your card. So pull the backings off. And we're gonna add some extra embellishments to this that are really gonna kind of finish off our card. So got that. And when I trim, here's a tip for you. I always trim from the back side and just use my paper snips and just sort of go right along the edge. So it's real easy then, if you're right-handed, to get right up against the edge of the paper and get a nice straight line. So, okay, let's back out just a bit here and then work on the other parts of our card here. So, like I said, I want to use this Cork Specialty Paper and really sort of extend this. So, we could just go ahead and put our card layers together like this. It's very pretty, but we want this sort of extra bonus. And the cork, I'm going to pop right on the edge, and look how that just makes that stand out. See how it kind of jumps that layer out from the background without overwhelming it. So with a simple card, you want to avoid overwhelming things. So this is a good strategy for doing that. And let's see, I really like to keep things straight by using my grid paper when I stamp. So I've got my cork strip lined up here, and I'm going to line up my vanilla paper with it, and then my vanilla across here. So I can eye this and I can eye here and know that we're pretty straight. All right, and I'm gonna give that a second to dry. Remember, multi-purpose liquid glue doesn't grab immediately, so you gotta give it, put a block on it, just let it sit for, even 10 seconds. And then I'm gonna add one more strip of cork across the bottom here, and see how that just really kind of it ties everything together. This is like a super organic kind of card. And you know what? Not that I'm telling you to save all your scraps, but this piece was cut here from like just a tiny edge that I had left over from the project that I die cut the other day. So with this cork paper, a little bit goes a long way. It's a lot like glimmer paper that way. So you don't have to have a ton of it to have a really great effect. All right, so I'm going to pop a little bit more multi-purpose liquid glue on the back of this. Remember, if you can see it, it's enough. You don't wanna like glob it off everywhere. And I'm gonna pop this here, and it's gonna overlap the margin here. So I bet this is pretty well dry. And that is kind of going to bring us together here like this. All right, now I think I overlapped the margin a little too much. We're gonna split that difference. And then you can see right here at the very bottom, I'm gonna just trim away there, okay? All right, and now we're going to pop this up on dimensionals so that shadow, the line that's between the top layer and the bottom layer, that shadow gives us a lot of extra nice dimension. So, and I'm going to pop this on here and add some dimensionals to the back and flip this over. Now, we're not quite done. We have a couple little details left, okay? One of those is to add some bling to this. I know Sue, there's Sue. Sue would be calling for bling. She says she loves the splotches. Thanks for sharing, Debbie. And so I'm going to use some of these dots here. So I've got my take your pick tool, use the putty end, and when we do the slide and stick method, so let's pop on one of these, like sort of bigger ones here, and then maybe two small ones. So one here, one, I'm gonna go down here actually on our greeting, and maybe one more kind of out here, I think. So, oh, those are in the same line. So I'm gonna scrape that up and put it maybe down a little bit. There you go. So if you missed that like line thing that I was saying, I really don't like to have things lined up in a row here when I'm trying for them to be organic and sort of splattered on there. I don't even like that there. I'm gonna move it here. There we go. Okay, much better. So anyway, I like to do the little rhinestones in groups of 3s, and I like to kind of scatter them around our focal point, and our greeting is our focal point, so that's why they're gonna kind of go right around that edge there. All right, so then we need to stamp something on the inside. There are great other images available in this stamp set. This is one of them. So I love this for an inside image, and then of course for your envelopes that you can stamp on the outside. And I think I don't have, oh I do, look at that. I have Very Vanilla envelopes handy in my drawer. So I think I'm going to pop this on the back. If you are, if you're like, whoa, how did she find that right away? I actually have a whole series about organizing your craft room, your craft space, whether it's a room, whether it's a closet, whether it's a box that you pull out when you're stamping. And it's actually the beginning of these. So you're looking at what, episode 185 now? If you go back to like episodes 1 through whatever, they were studio tours. And you can kind of learn about how I organize my stuff so that when I want an envelope, then I can just pull it out. So, all right. So that gives us, thanks Teresa, oops. Glad you like the card. That gives us our project for this fabulous Friday. I hope you guys have fun weekend plans in mind for this long weekend, actually, which reminds me that I will not be here on Monday because it's a holiday. But keep an eye out for more projects next week, including some of these fabulous ones with the Nature's Harvest stamp set. So we're working our way well into the tutorials, the LovenStamps tutorials for September. And oh, I didn't even tell you, when you order at least $50 from me during the month of September, you get 2 card kits in the mail. All of card kits for last month's orders went in the mail a couple of days ago, actually. I think they're arriving even some places. So woohoo, if you're getting your penguin kits. But this is actually one of the cards that you will get all the pieces for this month's kit. So if you're ordering in September, at least $50, which why wouldn't you, because it's a celebration. You know, free stamps, right? The pieces for this one will be one of the 2 cards. And the other card, I have it done. I'll post it later on my website today so you can kind of see, but it's like a fun fold card. You're going to be really excited about it. So watch for that coming up too. So, all right, guys, have a super fabulous weekend. Enjoy hopefully some extra time for crafting, and I will see you guys on Wednesday next week. But I'm sure I'll post some fun things on Monday, so we'll be not apart completely. And definitely go back and check past videos if you're looking for inspiration. So let's see, Tanya says she wants to go back and reorganize her stamps by type and then alphabetical because you can't remember the names of them, so alphabetical doesn't help. That is a tricky one. So, and especially for stamp sets that that have more than one thing in them, right? So they're like all-purpose sets. So you could split them out and organize them kind of by, you know, categories first, and then maybe alphabetical within that. Some people like to organize their stamps by having a book that they can flip through, kind of like making your own mini catalog of stamps that you own. And that's really easy to do with these stamp sets, because if you have a printer at home that has photocopy capabilities, all you have to do is slide out the little papers and just make a photocopy of this to add to your book. So yeah, if anybody has any great suggestions for Tanya on organizing her stamps, feel free to leave them here. And there is a video on stamp organizing and how I did mine. So I will check for that link and forward it to you, Tanya. So in case you need some ideas. So, all right. Well, if you guys just jumped in, sorry that you missed, but the video will be posted in a second, and hopefully will kind of inspire your fall crafting weekends to get out and get some cards made. So share a smile with somebody. That's a mission for the weekend. So, oh, Sue says she copies her covers, and organizes in a loose leaf book. Yep, page protectors, loose leaf book, definitely good ways to go. So, all right, guys, happy stamping. Have a terrific Friday and a wonderful weekend. See you soon.